Welcome to Kicking It Local, the podcast all about the football community in South Australia. I'm your host, Johnny Kecko, and today is part 2 of my chat with Jayden LoBasso, and what a great chat it's been so far. Looking forward to this, and it's the final episode for 2022, and looking forward to bringing more episodes in the new year. But let's head straight into part 2 now. Before we do that, if you haven't listened to part 1 just yet, head back and do so now. Otherwise, here is a quick refresher. What was it like growing up in Port Pirie?
Oh, awesome. I mean, it's like you're within a 1 minute walk from your best friends, no matter where they are. If they're on the other side of town, 1 minute walk. If they're right next to you, 1 minute walk. It's a small town, lots of good people. Yeah, but the real heroes were probably my mum and dad, like committing to taking me to Adelaide 3 times a week, which is a 6-hour round trip. For 2 years it ended up being, it was quite astonishing, and you know we weren't the only ones to do it. Emily Condon was in the same boat, and sometimes when it worked out we would carpool.
Now you've been at the Comets for 4 years. It's going to your 5th season. What's it been like to be a part of a team that hasn't won the grand finals, which you've been in 4 now in a row, the club as a whole, but you've won 2 titles. How's that feel to be a part of a club that's one of the toughest teams in the league?
Yeah, it's been a real privilege. Like the group, I've never been a part of a group that's been so together over the last 4 years. You know, like losing grand finals, it takes its toll on you emotionally and physically. But because the group is so together and we're almost like all best friends, we find the motivation to just come back every single year to try and go one further. And I think it speaks to our character, speaks to, you know, what the club's about. With Prez, Dimmy Panna, you know, they just exude everything the club's about, and people like that make you want to play for the club even more and be proud of wearing the shirt and stuff like that. So it's really top through bottom, a very well run, very, very nice family club. So yeah, I love it there. It
does seem like there's a very tight knit club. You've had a lot of older players that have been there for a while. So most of a couple leaving now. But how do you see the future of the club? Because you produce some good players with Yangi gone overseas and a few others as well. So how's that been with that club being able to prepare those players for future?
Well, I think one person who deserves a massive shout out is Dimmy Panna. They call it the Dimmy Panna Football Factory down there because he coaches the Resis and the 18s, and he's a technical director of some of the junior teams, and he just is spitting out just top quality youngsters year after year after year. And that's why the club's sort of taken this project on as we're going to be look to be great in the short term, but we're going to set ourselves up for the long term. And you know, look at the players that we have come through in Tommy G, Lockie Stead, Nathan Dimmu, who's back this year after going to Macarthur for a year. You got a lot of young 18, 19, 20-year-olds, Anthony Mav, Jayden Diamantis, you know, that are going to continue to progress as long with me and Ryan Yates. So the future's definitely there. We've got a good group that's ready to, as this older group moves on in age, you know, they're awesome right now, but as they move on, we've got in 5 years' time, hopefully, the same group to sort of take their place, and we'll just keep rotating like that, hopefully, if all goes well.
Well, it's obviously you love being at the club, but this year for yourself, in the lead up to it, the club's had struggles with trying to win grand finals, stuff like that. But yourself, you found your own struggles this year in 2022. The lead up to where you are now, we'll get into that in a moment. But do you think now, looking back on hindsight, this club, you're at the right club at the right time?
Oh, definitely. Just the experience this year, the support I had from the whole club. I'm not talking just, you know, the first team boys and the coaching staff. I'm talking the committee, the people who do all the work behind the scenes, reaching out and showing their support, and it was massive, absolutely massive. And if it wasn't for wasn't for them, you know, it would have been a much more difficult journey for me. But yeah, it definitely felt like I was around the right people at the right time.
So 3 games into the season, you were diagnosed with Guillain-Barre Syndrome, a condition which immune system attacks the nerves. So when you got diagnosed with this, what was the moment like when you found out? How did that all like pan out for you?
Well, it actually started like they can't. So there's always a trigger for Guillain-Barre syndrome, whether or not it's a disease itself, such as COVID, or I've heard people with salmonella end up coming down with it, or whether or not it's a vaccine that triggers a wrong autoimmune system response. There's always a trigger. And in the lead up to mine, as a physio student, I was about to embark on my first lot of placements, and there's a whole heap of mandates to make sure you're safe to go into a hospital setting with a lot of vulnerable people. So there's a whole lot of vaccines that I had to have given beforehand, and we're not sure which one triggered it. It definitely wasn't COVID. I had that ages ago. It wasn't the COVID vaccine, but it was something else that I've had. And about 5-6 days later, I was actually at uni, and my hands and my feet started going numb. And went to training that day. And normally I like to get into the gym a little bit beforehand and do some extras. Even though my hands and feet were starting to feel a little bit numb and I was a bit worried, I still was adamant I would do my gym session and complete training. So I went into the gym and I went to pick up a weight and I couldn't make a fist to pick up the weight. So that's when I was like, okay, something's really wrong here. So Barney and Dimmy Panna were there early because it was about 5 o'clock. Training doesn't start till 6. And they're like, is everything all right with you? Normally come in a bit more excited, a bit happy. I was like, oh, I'm not feeling too well. And after this had just happened, I was like, I think it's best I don't train tonight. And they were like, oh, what's wrong? I was like, I just got a headache or whatnot. But I did think it was going to be a little bit more serious than just a headache. So I ended up going home, ringing my mum and driving basically the whole way with my left hand because this right hand just wasn't working for some reason. So yeah, I got home and at this point, like, COVID was still like unsure what COVID can do to the body. Like I knew like muscle aches and pains and stuff and is a part of it. So I was like, maybe it's just some weird reaction or maybe I've got COVID. So the family sort of stayed clear from me. I went upstairs, went in my room, and that's when things start to take a turn for the worst. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Did you have any feelings before going home and stuff about what could be what this could be? Like, you said about you had the thoughts of might be COVID, but did you ever have any thoughts about the vaccines you just had? Was there anything like that? Was that had been triggered yet, or you just? I
didn't know at that point. We only sort of connected the dots late afterwards because at this stage there's a million things going through your mind. Given my physiotherapy background, like in my studies, bilateral, so both legs, both arms, loss of sensation, sort of numbness feeling is a red flag that we screen for. So I knew something was pretty seriously going on. I was hoping it was more of an infection such as a COVID or whatnot because that sort of stuff can be dealt with pretty easily and that wasn't something drastic. But then after it started to take a turn, I was like, okay, this is serious. So like that night I started having really bad nerve pain. I was up all night and couldn't get comfortable and the numbness started to grow up my legs and up my hands and up my arms. And that was when I was like, the next morning I woke up and was struggling to get out of bed due to the pain. At this stage I still had my strength. The numbness, like loss of sensation was there and the pain was there. So I was like to Mum, I think we got to do something about it. I think we got to go to the hospital. And she was like, yeah, we definitely do. Had no doubts about it. So quickly jetted off to the Calvary private hospital because we thought, this is quite serious. I need to get seen straight away. And don't want to be lining up and waiting
Yep.
for a long time. So we're happy to pay whatever it was to get seen urgently.
Yeah. Well, you got on top of it very quickly. Do you think the family environment and the way the dynamic of your family helped you to be more honest with your family and got you the treatment you needed quicker than others? Because I know of a lot of people that have had similar situations where they've been too worried about telling their family, or they just hold it on for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Do you reckon your family dynamic helped you get through it a bit quicker?
Oh, definitely. Our family, I think most of my friends and my close ones know that our family is a very open book.
Yep.
We share everything, and I think that's the best way to be. And especially, with my mum, she's always there to support us through any illness or whatnot. So it was quite easy talking to her about it, and she acted quite quickly, and as a worried parent would. And it was her that was massive through those early stages. Was huge. Yeah.
What was the next stage of this syndrome? Once you worked out there's something not right, you went to the doctors. What was the moments after that? What was next to come?
So I originally went to the emergency office, but down at Calvary straight away, and the doctor came in, he listened to my story and was like, well, there's three things going on. There's one of three things going on. He was like, you've either pinched a nerve or something in the gym, which didn't make sense for me because, like I said, both arms, both legs, loss of sensation, neural pain. As a physio, I was like, it doesn't make sense. And he was like, option number 2 is there's some sort of infection virus thing going on, which I was like, maybe, because I had headaches, I had sort of temperatures and whatnot, so there was some level of signs of infection. And then he was like, well, the third option is you might have MS. And when he said that, it was like, wow, like it was, all the hairs on my arms just sort of shot up. So that was the scariest part when that was thrown in the mix. And he was like, there's not much we can sort of do for you here. And he actually sent me home. He says just to monitor symptoms and come back if anything worsened. So I actually went back home for the night, and that's when I started losing, the numbness started getting going up my body, and then I started losing the strength to the point where I couldn't get out of a seat. Walking started to become difficult. My shoes were really heavy, so I had really floppy feet. And I was like, no, we got to go back. And Mum, straight away took me back. And that's when I was, finally admitted to the hospital, and they started doing some scans and whatnot.
And how long was it after that you found out it was Guillain-Barre and you could rule out MS? Because that would have been a bit of a shock, obviously, having that on the cards.
So straight away, once I went in the next time, they started doing all the scans for MS and on my heart, because I had a lot of back pain and stuff like that. So apparently the heart, if you have heart problems, it can not only go through your front of your chest and whatnot, can go through your back. So straight away I had CT scans on my heart and whatnot. And then I went for MRIs on my brain and spinal cord to rule out MS. So that acted pretty quick. Within a day or so I was able to get all those scans done and see the neurologist about them. And then that's when we got the news that it was an MS, which is good, obviously, but they still didn't know what it was. It was sort of a process of elimination from there. So I had something connected to me at all times, and they were frequently taking bloods out of me every hour or two, and sending them to biopsy to look at what's going on. So there was a whole lot of other tests, nerve conductions, whatnot. So it was quite grueling, But that week and a half of being in the hospital it just kept getting worse every single day, to the point that I ended up in a wheelchair to get to my appointments because I couldn't walk, couldn't chew my food because I couldn't open my jaw. it was basically became almost paralyzed. Yeah, it was crazy.
And at this point, you knew you had Guillain-Barre?
No, I
Not
still
yet?
didn't know. No, at this point, I'm still doing all these tests.
How did they manage to find out that and pinpoint exactly what you had?
Basically, process of elimination, looking at my clinical picture, like everything, all the signs and symptoms I had going on, plus the nerve conduction test showed significant impairments of basically all these nerves. And yeah, they were able to figure out that's my immune system. It's called cellular mimicry, where you can either get sick or vaccines in your body, and your immune system's meant to defend your body and attack those cells.
Yep.
And create antibodies. But what can happen is those cells can look like the cells in your nerves. So my immune system was rightfully doing its job, attacking the cells of the vaccines or whatnot, but they were getting mixed up and also attacking the myelin. It's called the myelin sheath around your nerves, which is basically the insulin around your nerves, and basically was eating away at that, and hence I was having all this loss of power, strength, sensation, and it was basically all over my body. Yeah.
Once you found out what it was, Guillain-Barre, you probably would have known the severity of it and where it could get to. Did that ever play on your mind of what could be the scenario? Obviously, we know where you are now, which is fantastic. But at that point, did you ever have any thoughts about it?
Well, yeah, obviously it was a very difficult stage. The worst part was doctors not being able to give me a time frame, because it's so variable depending on the amount of damage that's going on. So basically the doctor was like, it could be months, it could be years, it could be forever. They can't pinpoint it. Some people quicker than others. Some people never have permanent nerve damage and will suffer the consequences for the rest of their life. So it was that part of the unknown was the hardest. Yeah, definitely the hardest thing about the whole process.
Can you get rid of it completely, or is it always still there? Or
so there's no exact treatment to help regrow your nerves. They haven't got that far yet, but there is a treatment to stop the attack on your nerves, and it's called IVIG. But basically, you have to have a spinal tap where they take fluid out of your spinal cord to assess it and find the proteins, the exact cells that are causing this destruction, so they can pump you with antibodies against that or whatnot, and hopefully balance everything out. Obviously, there's a level of degree of risk with a spinal tap and whatnot, taking fluid out your spinal cord and already being in a vulnerable position neurally. It was something that I wanted to try and avoid. So there was about 4-week window where you can sort of get treatment to stop the attack, and that won't help regrow the nerves, but it will stop you from getting worse. So we left it to the last minute, and it was one day in the hospital where I woke up and I was like, had to vomit, and I was dizzy, and had fevers, temperatures. It was the worst morning ever, and then it quickly just went away. It quickly just like stopped, and it was like I'd finally found peace in the hospital room for the first time since I'd been in there, to the point where I actually end up going to sleep for about 4 or 5 hours, which I wasn't able to do for a good 2 weeks. I wasn't able to get more than a couple of hours sleep, and that's when it was like, okay, I think the attack stopped. I think my body sort of equaled out. Now, that didn't mean I'd like turn back to normal, but it meant the pain was a little bit better, and it wasn't getting worse at a sense, you know what I mean?
How far off was this? Like, how many weeks into it?
This was about a couple of weeks in, yeah. And at this stage, my mum finally got her first hours of sleep as well, because she stayed up every single night with me right next to me at the hospital. And yeah, it was like something just turned, something just stopped. Yeah, it was weird.
Well, you obviously beforehand you were so heavily involved in football. The amount of trips you did to and from Port Pirie just to play football, play state football, play for Adelaide United and all that. How much of a struggle was it to be where you were at that stage and know you can't play at the moment and not know if you were going to play ever again? How was that for you? How did you manage to deal with that?
Well, I didn't sort of let my mind go down that path. I was quite stubborn. Like, I still believed that I would play in 3-4 weeks' time. Like, that's the way I was. Like, I was watching the games on my phone at home, and I was telling my mum and dad that, I'm playing this year. I don't care what they say. Like, I'm gonna do it. And they're like, go try and get some sleep, whatnot. Fine, just take your medicine, try and be comfortable. But it was never like, I never thought, okay, I might not play soccer again until I was in the midst of the rehab and I saw where I actually was physically for the first time, and that came about 4 or 5 weeks
into it.
Yeah.
So what was the worst part of it? The peak of the illness. Where was that? How far were you, like, because you couldn't eat?
Yeah.
You're the numbness. You're in a wheelchair. What was the peak of that?
That was about 2 weeks in, and that's basically I was in intense pain. I was on endone. That would give me about 15 minutes relief to try and get to sleep. And if I didn't get to sleep in that 15 minutes, I would be up all night with the pain, and the numbness feeling and the inability to basically move. I was having boost juice, basically breakfast, lunch, and tea, because I couldn't eat because my jaw wouldn't move. So that was about 2 weeks in, and then it slowly started getting better from there. But I'd say the mental battle started about 4 or 5 weeks in, because the first 2 weeks it's fresh, it's new. You're just trying to get to the next day in as little amount of pain as possible, and try and just you couldn't think that far ahead. But then once I was back into the gym doing the rehab, that's when I feel like the mental battle started becoming just as hard as the physical one.
The having your family there would have been a massive help as well. But if you didn't have them there, do you think you would have been able to do it as quickly?
No, definitely not. Like, legit, I'm telling you, my mum probably got 2-3 hours sleep at max a night for about a month, because I was in significant pain. She was getting me heat bags, getting my medicine. She was naturally just stressed herself, so she couldn't sleep. And we still got through it together. My brothers, a couple nights, would take shifts, try and say, "Mum, get some sleep." And they'd come in the room, and because if I needed water for my medicines, I couldn't get up and get it. If I needed to go to the toilet, I couldn't get up and do it. If I needed I was completely dependent on my family. But Mum struggled to sort of let go of the reins, so she ended up still being there with my brothers. So basically everyone was sleeping in their room downstairs, because I couldn't get upstairs. And everyone was taking turns to get me a little bit of this, a little bit of that, staying up for a couple hours just to keep me company, because, you become lonely 24/7, stuck in a bed, post-hospital. So my brother used to, they had to shower me, they had to dress me, they had to do absolutely everything. And then, once I started to be able to walk again, that's when my brothers really sort of took the reins and pushed me. And, there used to be this 400-metre block around my house, well, there still is, but and we used to try and walk it, and we'd time it every day. And it would be about 400-metre walk would take me about 15-16 minutes. It was like very slow, but we'd time it, and the next day we'd try and beat it. So, and they'd do it with me, and the support there was awesome. So, like, it was my whole family really just lent in and helped me get through it. Yeah,
and it would have been a big recovery to try and get through this situation, because where you were and then where you are at that moment is two different things, and to try and get back there, it's going to take a lot longer. And you had the support of your family, but also a moment which you never thought, which we weren't sure if was going to happen, is getting back onto the field. And we got to speak to the head coach, Barney Smith, who was very instrumental as well in that period, as well as the club. He got to speak after the game, second appearance back at Adelaide Comets, and that was in a elimination final against Metro Stars at Service FM Stadium. This is what he had to say about the moment.
And then Jayden LoBasso, what a lovely moment, mate. I heard you say to him, Jayden, it's your time, mate. That must have been a great moment for you to get him back on the pitch.
Oh, look, what that kid's gone through is quite remarkable. Super proud of what he's done, and for him to be back now, still in our squad, able to play in the final series. Well, I talked to him by his bedside when he couldn't get out of bed physically. He just physically couldn't get out of bed, and I remember saying to him, you know, just believe, Jayden, and work hard, and just dream about being back on that field. And who knows, you could be playing in the finals with us, and here he is playing in the finals with us. So all credit to him. He's done an amazing rehab to get where he is, super dedicated to his body and doing it right so that he could get back on the field. So it's great to have him. We've missed him all season.
How was it to have Barney by your side and helping you through that?
Yeah, it was huge. So as soon as I sort of got back to home and was discharged from hospital, Barney came over and he was messaging me, ringing me the whole time throughout the whole process, and came over several days and just spent the morning with me and had a coffee and whatnot. And exactly what he said. He said, just manifest that you're going to be back playing with us at finals. And I took his word for it, and I did it. And I was manifesting I would get back for finals. And people were saying, you know, and my mum was saying, don't worry about football. Like, it's your health is your football will come. Just worry about your health. And I was said to my family, I was like, I know if I'm well enough to get back to playing football, that I'm well enough to be back to normal life, and I'm in a healthy, strong position. If I'm well enough to play football at that level, I'm back to normal. So they understood. So yeah, Barney was huge. He was like, just keep believing. You're gonna be there with us. And looking back, I don't know how he was so confident in that, because he saw where I was at, and. But he gave that belief to me, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have got it done.
You wouldn't have? You don't believe so?
Nah, not at all. Not at all, because, you know, even the process, like when I first got back to training, I was really unco. You know, I still had a little bit of loss of sensation in my feet. I had to learn how to run again because I was so uncoordinated and whatnot. But he was adamant that I was training with the first team. Even though I'd break drills down, and, you know, sometimes it would be a bit frustrating for all the boys, given, you know, how limited I was and how bad I was in those first few trainings. He was like, nah, you're doing this journey with me, you're doing this journey with us, because you're going to play this year. And I was like, I don't know why he had that belief. You have to ask him, but he was, the whole time was massive support and made me feel confident in myself that I could do it.
If you didn't have that, do you reckon it would have been a bit harder not having that coach relationship with him?
If I didn't have that relationship where he believed in me like that, there's no way I get to play in those finals games and play in my fourth grand final. There's no way. You think about having a whole year off, playing. I think I ended up playing one full Resi's game, and then being in the squad for the final series, given everything I'd gone through and where I was in my body physically. You know, I lost 10 kilos worth of muscle, so I wasn't fast and as strong as I once was. I lost my touch. I was unfit because I hadn't done a lot of running. I wasn't where I was physically or mentally. You know, the confidence of playing and having that your touch with you, and there's no way if he didn't believe in me as a player or as a person the way he did. And that was something that, you know, Barney as a coach has for his players more than probably anyone I've ever experienced. Like, the belief he had in me made me so much of a better player. So if it wasn't for that, I don't get back to the field and play in that grand final. No.
And that belief that he had in you for this situation, do you reckon the way he handled that is why your club got to so many grand finals?
Definitely, because it was like, it's sort of our mindset, like, you know, if one person's in a shit situation, sorry for my language, that everyone will band together and will pull you along with us. That's basically how we've got to our grand finals, that sort of mentality of, you know, no man left behind. Everyone's chipping in and helping everyone get to where they need to. So it extends throughout the whole club, you know, through Barney, through to Prez and Dimi Panna, and to big key features. And Con, who's still in a role, who was the coach originally of the team when I first got there, and through the whole playing group, the leadership group. Special shout out to Julian Torres, and he was massive throughout the whole process himself, and he ended up going down injured, and he was actually on the bench for the grand final as well, and he had to have knee surgery the week after. So but he was massive for me as well as giving me the belief as well as what Barney was doing. He was constantly messaging me, ringing me, getting me out to my first game, getting me out to my first training to watch the boys. It was that sort of way inclined throughout the whole group, and it was the same for when Jules went down.
Yeah. So during that process of when you're not going to training just yet, you had the players reaching out to you to try and get you out and do things with you? Is that what was going on?
Yeah, like obviously the whole process, I was getting messages from absolutely everyone in the team, everyone in the club. And Jules was quite keen on getting me out earlier, probably earlier than I was ready to, because, when you can't walk, it's very hard to get to a game where there's stairs or whatnot, and it's very hard to get down to the pitch side and be on the bench like the boys were wanting. But Jules literally messaged me, I'll carry you if I have to. So that week I didn't get it done. I just still wasn't there physically. The week after, I was able to get to the Thursday night training, where I got to see the boys again for the first time, which was quite emotional. And then I was able to stay for dinner, and then I was able to get to that game on that Saturday.
How special is that, looking back on it, the support you had from the club and the players and the coach? How special is that for you?
Oh, you can't put into words. You feel like you're indebted to these type of people for the rest of your life, because it was the toughest thing I've had to deal with my whole life, obviously, and to see the support network around me. And it wasn't just at Comets; it was throughout the whole football community. I was receiving great tweets and messages from absolutely everyone in the sport. And these are people that you compete with, and naturally have to have a bit of probably anger towards, because you're competing with them, but when push comes to shove, everyone's a tight-knit community, and we're all footballers. We all want everyone to be well and to compete with and all that. So it was amazing. Yeah, it's
incredible to see from where you were to where you got into. And we talk about the club, how much they've done for it, but how special was it the way they treated you? Because you told me off air that they bought you a jersey, a Liverpool jersey.
Yeah.
They got you out to dinner, and they all got around you, and Barney got you in the club rooms. What was that moment like when you put it all together? What was it like for you to have all those moments from this one club?
Oh, it's something you will never forget. And I put that on top of the memories we've made in terms of winning the league titles a couple times and celebrating them, and celebrating some big games, some mate grand finals. And you look at all the memories that you have football-wise, and they're all amazing. But those sort of memories through that stage top it pretty clearly. In terms of what the club's given me is far more than I can ever give the club and the playing group.
And you look at clubs where they make the grand final, and some clubs have their own turmoil, stuff going on in the club, and it brings them closer together. Nothing like what you obviously went through, but those low moments brings people together. Do you reckon this year was a lot harder for the Adelaide Comets to get into the grand final, because you didn't finish top two, you finished out of the two, and then you had to win every single game in the lead up, and there was some tough opponents as well along the way, but you managed to do it and get to the grand final, and unfortunately things didn't go your way in the grand final, but yourself, Torreson, you had also Daniel Vaughan, who was injured in 3 different places. So those type of moments, do you reckon that brought you guys really, really close together and got you through to the grand final?
Well, I reckon those type of moments sums us up as a group and as a club. When you look at those type of moments in terms of what happened obviously with me, what happened with Jules, who was having a fantastic season and was hoping to end his career out on the high because he had announced his retirement, and then to not be able to go out on your own accord and get injured, and that sort of be taken away from him. And then Dan playing on one leg throughout the whole final series and was probably the player of the whole final series. He, got us there. And then you look at the games, it was a grind out win against Croydon. It was penalty shootouts against Metro after a tight contest. It was finally beating Campbelltown at Campbelltown to make a grand final. And then in the grand final, within 20 minutes, you lose a player and someone gets sent off. But we went 1-0 down, but we still clawed our way back into the game and gave us ourselves a chance. I think that just sums up that whole final series, that whole year sums up the last 4 years of the group's characteristics, the mentality around the club. You put that all together, and it's probably the first time I've actually thought about it. It's probably the best sort of display of what the club's about.
What's happened overall is it is a little bit inspirational to see how far the setbacks yourself had and others, and to still be able to push yourselves forward and get there is inspiring. And for yourself as well, have you looked now that where you are now, you're playing, you're getting ready for a new season now. Do you look back sometimes and think about where you were 5 months ago?
Every single time. So like just the other week, I'm trying to get fit for pre-season this year, and I went for a run. And I ran around the 400-metre block that I took 15 minutes for me to get around, stumbling around, where the weight of my shoes was just too much to pick my foot up. And then all of a sudden I'm flying through it and I'm running. It's like, it sort of takes you back to, wow, how far I've come. And I think it changes your perspective on a lot of things, yeah, for sure.
How... if you think back to the moment where you were at the peak of the syndrome, how it attacked your body, how's that feel now thinking back to where you were? Does that edge you on to get further?
It just sort of, like, I've always been a very driven person, physically and in other areas for sport and for study and whatnot. But it just makes you, I think it hasn't changed my drive. It's just changed some of my perspective on things, and on people. Like some of the people, you just change your gratitude for everyone basically. So, that's the only thing. Yeah, I try and not think about it too much. I just try and get back to normal life where you just, I was just a naive young adult who liked to have a few drinks with his mates and play soccer on the weekend and whatnot. So just trying to get back to where it's not in my mind constantly, which, is difficult in its own right. But,
you're only 22?
22, yeah.
So have you felt like you've grown up a lot in the last 6-7 months?
Oh, I reckon,
we had to.
Yeah, before I got sick, I was still acting like a young adult. Now I feel like I've grown up significantly. Yeah, like for the better. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's
amazing, and I think that you went through something massive, and you managed to get to where you are now, playing, which a lot of people didn't. And I think it's something that people can look back on and see. I know you don't you're very humble, but it is something that's huge, and people go through little setbacks, and it's good to see the mentality, the way you dealt through it. You're an inspiration to a lot of people, I think, that may go through something at one stage, if you have the right backing and the right mentality, you can get through anything.
Yeah, and the right support. Like I missed a whole term of uni, and was still able to end up doing an intensive course, pass all my exams and go on my first placement that I was originally meant to go on, and pass that with flying colours and continue my studies as well as my sport. But that came from my family, that came from my educators at uni, that came from my coaches, my teammates, and to eventually, within 6 months, pass my uni first year of masters, and playing an NPL grand final, given all that in the 6-month period post being diagnosed with Guillain-Barre is, looking back on it, was a big year for me for sure.
Absolutely, mate. It's great to look on now the story that you've had and where it's gone now, because it's incredible. And one thing, when people see this, we always Google to see what the Guillain-Barre syndrome is, or something we don't know about. And when I googled, I saw another NFL player from the Dallas Cowboys who had the same situation, and it's amazing to see in other stories that weren't in the limelight. But there's other stories where people are a lot severe, but it's great to see where you are, mate. And it's awesome to see the story that the way it's panned out. And hopefully we can see more success for you. Cheers,
mate. Well, that's the plan. And like you said, the NFL player, I remember when I first started, I was watching a podcast about him talking through it. So it's a full circle moment now that I'm on a podcast talking about my story through it. It's been good.
Did that story help listening to him and what he went through?
Massively, because like I said, the unknowns were huge. Like no doctor could tell me absolutely anything. But his story, was absolutely huge in terms of giving me some sort of sense of what I had to do. And I think I'd be really bad of me to not mention the two people who helped me get back physically, which was Megan and Andy. Andy's based at the club, Andy Ferner, and Megan's a physio down at she's at Revo, and I did all my rehab through them two, a physio and an exercise scientist, and them two got me to where I was. So have to give them a big shout out. Physically, they got me where I had to go.
It's great of you to acknowledge people like that. It seems like you've had a lot of people supporting you as well through this journey.
Yeah, 100%. I think I have to also personally shout out my beautiful grandmother, Natalie Pisani. When I'm speaking about the whole process, about my parents, my brothers, she was actually there throughout it all and was a massive support for me. She actually moved in with us when it all took place, and I came back from the hospital, and she was massive support for my mother in terms of getting the house in order for her, but she was also massive with me. She spent lots of late nights up with me, was always there during the day helping me do the little uni work that I could, and get up and moving whenever. I'm talking about my mum, my dad, my brothers, but my grandmother Natalie was, the silent hero throughout it all. Yeah,
our great grandparents.
Yeah, she was amazing throughout it all. I'm almost finished my physio degree, and I feel like I owe her a few free sessions when I'm done. So more than that actually, but she was amazing.
Well, let's hope that this podcast interview can help one or two people, just like Travis Frederick's interview helped you get through your situation, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and a big year coming for you next year. Hopefully we can see you playing more frequently.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. Hopefully it's an uninterrupted season for me. But I'm also looking forward to, got a new coach in GT coming in. Learning from another great coach. I've heard nothing but great things from him, about him. I'm looking forward to further developing and seeing what next year brings for me. Yep.
Thank you for sharing the story with me as well, because it was great to hear about how it all panned out for you, and knowing where you are now. It was awesome for you to be able to share that. And I appreciate you sharing it on here on Kicking It Local.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been awesome.
It has, but we got to end it now on the Kicking It questions, which I do with all my guests now, because this is the way we end all my interviews. And looking forward to this one now. Who would you love to kick it with on the park? Anyone in the world?
Anyone in the world or locally?
Or you can choose either. So
anyone in the world would have to be Mo Salah.
Yep,
Liverpool.
Nice.
Previously, it was Felipe Coutinho. I was a massive Coutinho fan, so I'd have to have him out with a shout. And locally, just the boys that I'm already playing with. Yeah.
Love kicking it with them.
Yeah, killer.
Well, and now, who would you love to kick it with on a Saturday night? Someone locally and someone internationally.
Ryan Yates locally.
Yeah.
And Jack Fladden. Them two, I don't know what it is, but they can go from 9 o'clock to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Really?
9 p.m. to 9 a.m. They are the best family to go out with, and you're going to have fun.
Party animals?
Yeah. Not so much. They're not party animals. They just,
enjoy
a good company.
Yeah.
They're.
What about through the World Cup? Because there were some weird times during the World Cup. Did Did you ever watch the World Cup with them?
Yeah.
They would have been able to get through it.
Yeah, them two, yeah. They sign me up for a night with them two, full drinks into watching World Cup. You have a good time, yeah.
Awesome, man. And who internationally would you love to kick it with on the Saturday night?
LeBron James.
LeBron James.
Yeah, I know he's, not known for his party side, but I'd love to have a few drinks with LeBron James and hear some of his stories, yeah.
I'm sure there'd be plenty of stories there to tell. Mate, well, absolute pleasure chatting with you. I appreciate you sharing the story once again with us. It's a great way to end off 2022 because the final interview for this year, and what a one to do. And I really appreciate you giving your time to chat and share the story.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
That was Jayden LoBasso. Make sure you subscribe to Kicking It Local wherever you get your podcasts so you can get a taste of the SA football community. Plus, follow Kicking It Local SA on Instagram and Twitter so you don't miss any of the action. See you soon.